Welcome back to the One Question Leadership Podcast. I'm Glenn Caruso, head football coach at the University of St. Thomas, and so happy you tuned in. You know, quite often we get so caught up in the daily grind of work or coaching or recruiting that we don't often take time to reflect. I would encourage everybody to take just a few minutes each day to try and see the bigger picture, to stop and realize that in the end, we're going to be judged on what we choose to believe, who we choose to love, and what we decide to leave behind in the hearts and minds of not just our players, not just our coworkers, but also our children. And remember, if we're doing it right, we're coaching football for life.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown, and welcome to the One Question Leadership Podcast, where we highlight executive and organizational leadership. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at 1Q Leadership. Our guest today is Coach Rekha Patterson. Coach Patterson is the head women's basketball coach at Southeast Missouri State University. Greetings, Coach. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, and thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Now, Coach, you and I go back to years ago in grad school at Baylor when we were pretty much just starting off in the college athletics industry, starting off in sports, other than, I guess, when we were student athletes. So I've known you for a long time. So it's an honor for me to have you here on the podcast.
Thank you. It's an honor that you have to be on your podcast.
Yes, ma'am. Now, you've been the head coach there at Southeast Missouri State since 2015. Your career, you've worked on a couple of national championship teams at Baylor University. You spent time at Ball State, Eastern Illinois, and Creighton. Of course, you played ball at North Carolina A&T. So with time as an athlete, you're at almost 20 to 25 years in the coaching profession and in college athletics. Of course, this year, you led your team to the 2019-2020 Ohio Valley Conference Tournament Championship and was named the OVC Coach of the Year. Those are tremendous accomplishment, and congratulations on your Coach of the Year honors, and congratulations to you and the team for the tournament championship.
Thank you. When you said 25 years, that I don't know where the time went. That's a lot of time, but very privileged to be able to be in this profession for that long. This is a very difficult thing to do, to be able to get in and stay in. So blessed to still be doing something that I love to do.
Right, and doing it at a high level. And of course, you and I have never experienced anything like we're experiencing now. To be specific, like the NCAA Women's Tournament Selection Show was a couple of days from happening when Ohio Valley Conference and really all of college athletics canceled all competitions. So I guess for you and the seniors on the team, and the juniors and the sophomore and the freshmen, that was the last game of the season. But for the seniors, their last game was to win the conference championship, which had to be an honor for them. I'm sure that helped put things in perspective. Talk to me a little bit about that when that was after winning the tournament, the high of winning the tournament championship, and then when the tournament, I guess, all competition was canceled.
Yeah, it was an amazing run that we had in the conference tournament. We are so grateful that we were one of the first tournaments to be able to finish.
Right.
If we were a week later, then we may not be, we probably wouldn't be OVC champs. Our goal all season was to be OVC champs. That's what we worked on, starting with our postseason of last year. When we brought our newcomers in the summer, that was our focus. We actually gave our players a screensaver that said OVC tournament champs. And you want to win. You want to finish on a high note, and we did that. And then we had time to just see our names pop up on ESPN, knowing that we were in the tournament and going to be dancing. And we talked about that and how good that was going to feel. And on that Thursday, we were headed to practice, and we got the notification that the NCAA had canceled everything. And obviously, you feel for everyone on the team. But as you said, those seniors, they thought that they were going to continue to play. They were excited about putting on their practice uniform and practicing in March and having something to play for and being able to represent our university and community. We wanted to continue playing. But as our team chaplain reminded us, our goal was to be OVC tournament champs. And that's what we were. We wanted to be playing our best basketball when it mattered, and we did. And no matter the fact that we could not continue due to the coronavirus, we always will be able to say that we're champs.
Right, which is excellent. Now, you've been around success as a basketball coach, of course, this past season included. Worked for and with some successful leaders in terms of basketball coaches. I wonder about the leadership traits you've gathered during your career especially now that you've been a head coach for 4 or 5 years now, what traits do you lead with now? Like, what did you learn as you were working for the Coach Mokis of the world, and what do you lead with now?
Well, I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to work for many different successful coaches. The great thing that you can learn from that is there's a lot of different ways to have success. I think the most important thing is you got to be authentic. That's the one thing I learned from all of them. Like, they were so different, but they had success. You've got to be authentic, and then you've got to find what matters most to you, and you got to stick to it, even on those tough days. The things I've learned from being a head coach over these last 5 years is, and this was probably a little bit difficult for me because, most people do it the way they do it, and that's it. But I've had to learn to love my players the way they need to be loved, not necessarily the way that I would just want to love them in a blanket way. Each of them needs something different from me. And if it's my purpose to help them be their best self, then I've got to love them so that they can be their best self. And then I have to empower our young women to find their voice and then let them use that voice. I ask them questions at halftime. I ask them questions of what they want to do during the game. We work hard, we prepare, but they're the ones who are out there playing. They know they got a vibe and a feel for what's going on. So empower them to use their voice. And those are some of the things that I've learned in my 5 years.
Right. You mentioned that it was a challenge initially. How long into your head coaching career did it take for you to learn that each player needed their own version of love and coaching? Like, did something major happen, or talk to me a little bit about that part in terms of your growth as a head coach?
I think it took 3 years for me to learn that. When you're first taking over a program who hasn't had success, you got to learn how to win, and you got to make sure those young ladies are believing in themselves and believing in each other. And that takes time. And as you start to recruit talented players that can help you have success, you got to figure out how to blend them together and but still allow them to be themselves. And so it took me 3 years. I think we have what we call sisterhood sessions, and that's where we just talk about different things and we get to know each other better, and we work on our team chemistry and our team bond. And we went through the love language, finding out what was each of our players' love language, and let them get up and explain what makes them feel good. And as coaches, it's part of our job to help them feel good so that they play good. And so it took a little while to get to that. And then I wanted to have an experience with my players where I know they're not going to always agree with everything I say. And I'm okay with that. They're not going to always like me. I'm okay with that. But my goal is for them to know that I love them, and that when I make decisions, it's in the best interest of the program. And so, yeah, it took a little while to get to that. But I feel like this year was a year where we were able to accomplish that, and they could see my love for them in a way that they hadn't seen before.
Right. I'll ask one more question on that. Was your style that you have grown into, was that modeled for you from some of the leaders you worked for and with, or is that something you had to realize, this works better for me as a leader?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
Seeing it from a different perspective, they did love all of our coaches. All coaches, we love our kids. There's no doubt about that. But I needed to work through that, I guess, on my own. Looking back at it now, though, I think, yes, I could see that in some of our coaches that I've worked with and worked for. It just looked a little different whenever I was in it.
Right. Well, you talk about winning. You talk about a successful year. You mentioned this year you've seen things click. You win the Coach of the Year for the Ohio Valley Conference. I wonder, has winning this year put some things in perspective internally, winning and then the rest of the year being taken away? Like, as you process that internally as a head coach, as a leader, leading young women and leading your staff internally. Tell me about how things were put in perspective when all of a sudden things are snatched away. And then externally, how have you had to put things in perspective for the people that you lead?
Well, I know it's a cliche, but I think it's extremely true. You win in life with people. And, as coaches in this profession, you spend so much time with your assistant coaches and your players and your support staff that it's really important to have people that are on your train, and on your train authentically. Now, that doesn't mean everybody always agrees, but they understand that what we're doing is bigger than us individually. And that's myself included. We're all on this train together. Yes, I'm in the front of it, and I'm behind it, or whatever the case may be, but we're on it together. And so people matter. And it's my hope that I make sure that the people that I'm around feel valued, and they know that they are valued and appreciated. Yes, I won Coach of the Year, but it's because of the players. It's because of our assistant coaches, our director of operations, of our athletic trainer, our strength and conditioning coach, our academic advisor. These are the people that have their hands on our program every single day. And if they don't do what they're supposed to do, then it's a struggle. And so we had an amazing staff this season that was all in, and it felt really good. So you win with people, and people are very, very important. And so I hope I am as good to them as they are to me.
Right. And I'm sure that's not a new philosophy. So have you seen that over the last 3 or 4 years as a head coach in terms of the players? Have you seen them embrace that philosophy and I guess the turnaround which led to the success this year and hopefully success in the future?
You know, our theme for the year was One Healthy Heartbeat, and we wanted to do that by serving others, serving the team, serving the program, serving our university, serving our community, and making sure that we were doing good for others as often as we could, even if it was a simple holding the door for somebody or complimenting someone or pouring good into them. That was really important for us this season. And so, yeah, I think our young ladies, they bought into that. They believed in that. That mattered to them. And I think it showed on the court. One of the things I'm very proud of is the fact that our community could see that. People who attended the games, they could see our players serving each other and enjoying each other. And I think that's a big part of having success.
Right. Well, I'll circle back to this before we wrap the conversation. Obviously, we're facing something we've never seen before with this whole coronavirus. I mean, the world is, right, that we haven't seen in our lifetime at least. And the challenges are great, right? Of course, there are still celebrations. I know that coaches, of course, in my however long I worked at the American Football Coaches Association, 13 to 14 years, you start realizing that coaches thrive off preparation, right? Preparation is probably the heart of how a coach finds success. I wonder what kind of direction are you providing for your players and your staff in terms of preparing for whatever comes next, whether it's on the court, off the court, in life, with family, with friends, anything. Talk to me about how you're coaching the people you lead through trying to prepare for uncertainty of the future.
Well, you absolutely prepare. That's part of what we do. The majority of what we do is preparing. But you also prepare for the worst and hope for the best. You focus on the things that you can control, and then as we tell our team, we have to make adjustments sometimes. Like if a player gets hot in the middle of a game, then we have to adjust to that. Or if a team is doing something, we have to adjust. So we prepare, but then we adjust. I think communication is key. Staying in contact with people, making sure they understand what the expectations are, what it is we need to be doing, what can we do in these times, and doing the best that we can do with what we have. So, we are communicating with our players often. We're checking in on them about their well-being, seeing how they are, because this is different than what they expected, making sure that we have whatever resources available to them to help them through this time. And then it's a refocus. They're student athletes and they're students first. And so now our priorities have turned to academics and making sure that everybody's good to go there, which is what most of us would be doing at this time anyway. If, once our season ended, you're focused on academics, you start working on recruiting, which never ends, and making sure that our players are healthy. That part doesn't change. So prepare for the worst, hope for the best, be able to make adjustments, and then communicate through everything.
Right, and find some semblance of normalcy in terms of the things you mentioned, right? Recruiting, academics, the things that make sure we're doing those things great. I wonder what your communication has been with the seniors. I mean, obviously academics is still important, but they probably are uncertain about what graduation means, if there's going to be a graduation. Where will they go after graduation? Will there be jobs? Talk about that leadership aspect. That's a little different, right?
It is. It really is. We talk with our seniors. Really, it's at the end of their junior year. We start sitting down with them and talking about what their plan is. One of the things we do in our programs, we make our players do job shadowing or internships in the summer when they're here for summer school so that they can start getting ready for this moment. And then throughout the senior year, we're having individual meetings about what your plan is. We make sure they go to the career fair so that they're not waiting to the end of the season to start making plans. So most of our players have had something, some options that they've been working on, but yeah, everything has changed now. And so it's trying to help them navigate this time. I know the world of college athletics. That's what I know. So we utilize our resources that we have on campus. Career services is amazing. And they've been helping out all of our students here. And I'm sure on most college campuses, they're helping them out. But just trying to help these young ladies navigate what's next, making sure they know that they have everything they need already inside of them for whatever is next. And, this is just like going into maybe a game where you don't have a whole lot of preparation time. You know who you are, you know what you do, you know to believe in yourself, and then you just got to work for it. So,
and if they're anything like we were coming out of school, you lean hard on those coaches for some type of leadership when you go into trying to figure out where you're going into next. Rekha, this has been an excellent conversation. I really appreciate you joining us here on the One Question Leadership Podcast.
Well, thank you again for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. That was Coach Rekha Patterson. She's the head women's basketball coach at Southeast Missouri State. And of course, this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of the One Question Leadership Podcast is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.